Coming up, a soldier is mistaken for dead and then body bagged.
I was thinking, dear God, please don't zip that bag up. And I'm just floating in my own blood.
How this Vietnam veteran escaped death. In Vietnam combat, the life expectancy of a helicopter pilot and door gunner was 2 to 3 minutes. Remember that as you watch the next story of an extraordinary American who risked his life to save his comrades against all odds. David Cathcart reports.
They were putting me in the body bag. I was thinking, dear God, please don't zip that bag up. But I couldn't talk because my jaws were locked. You know, when I got hit in the mouth with the butt of the weapon. And I'm just floating in my own blood.
By all odds, May 2nd, 1968 should have been the last day in the life of Staff Sergeant Roy Benavidez. But Roy has always seemed to defy the law of averages. He was told 3 years before that he would never walk again after he stepped on the landmine during his first tour of duty in Vietnam.
I'd get up, I'd crawl to a wall, I'd try to stand up, and I stood up. And I'd cry and I'd beg God to help me walk. But I knew that if I did that much today, I can do more tomorrow. With God's will and assistance. I believed that I could walk as long as I had him in my mind.
Roy walked out of the hospital 9 months later. He was assigned to the 5th Special Forces Group for his second tour in Vietnam. The group worked in conjunction with the 240th Assault Helicopter Company in Loc Ninh near the Cambodian border. The morning of May 2nd, 1968, Roy had just attended a field church service when
I heard on the radio commotion. And, you know, the old Army language, 4-letter words and everything, you know, get us out of here and all.
It was Sergeant Leroy Wright, Sergeant Floyd Mousseau, and Spec 4 Brian O'Connor. They had with them 9 Vietnamese from the Civilian Defense Irregular Group. Their secret mission was now compromised and they were under heavy fire. They made it to the landing zone, or LZ, and were calling for an extraction.
My name is Jerry Ewing. I was a Chief Warrant Officer, helicopter pilot, 67, 68. The 4 aircraft commanders were myself and Waggy, Armstrong, and McKibben.
Roger Waggy, I was a Chief Warrant Officer, W2, pilot.
And Bill Armstrong, I was Chief Warrant Officer, and I also was a helicopter pilot.
We took off, and I was first, and I flew through a wall of fire, and they shot my crew chief, Craig. He fell over into the bed of the helicopter, and they shot my door gunner. So I decided to abort. I took a right, and I was screaming at Bill, don't go in, don't go in. But his radios had already been, she had already gone through that fire.
My crew chief and my gunner, Gary Land and Bob Wessel, we landed in the LZ. We immediately came under heavy fire. The North Vietnamese were actually charging the aircraft in an effort to overrun the aircraft. Gary and Bob, although they received multiple wounds, very serious wounds, were able to keep their M60 machine guns running, which is the only thing that saved us.
They actually flew a helicopter shot with a head wound, probably 30, 40 minutes. I don't know how he did it, but...
Well, I could tell they didn't want me there. I was ready to go home.
So we kept trying to send ships in to try to get them out, and we're not having much success. And you get close to the LZ, and just the fire would just be so intense, you know you're not going to make it into the LZ, much less out of it.
By now, the mission team was experiencing heavy casualties and severe wounding. The pilots continued to attempt a rescue. Larry McKibben and his flight crew had inserted the team and felt most responsible to extract them.
My name is Paul LaChance. I was a specialist 5th class, E5, and I was a flight crew chief. The rule in a company when you fly a flight crew is You insert them, you extract them. So Mac looked at me, and that's referring to McKibben. Mac was Mac, I was Frenchie. Frenchie, you ready? Let's go, Mac. Get him out of there, we go home. Got in there, and he couldn't get in. Number 2 tried to get him. Mac got out. We went back. We took a few hits. I was out observing where we could fly or not. Ship wouldn't crank. And I was known to be very resourceful over there in the company. We had no APU units out there to crank, so I stole the battery. Got the battery hot, got him cranked. He lifted off without a screw chief because he was intense to get them out. The last day I saw him back.
Of his own volition, Roy leapt onto McKibben's chopper with 2 things on his mind: retrieving the secret mission's classified documents and rescuing his comrades.
And I asked the good Lord, God, help me help these men out. I'll do my job. I'm not going to ask you to do yours. I really said that. I was in fear, friend, but I had a mission to perform.
We'll show you where Roy's fearless mission led and why the forces of death were unable to stop him. Up next. On Memorial Day, we salute the brave men and women who have served in the armed forces of the United States. Soldiers such as Staff Sergeant Roy Benavidez. While serving in Vietnam, Roy leaped onto a chopper headed into enemy fire.
My name is Peter Galis. I was a crew chief and door gunner on a Charlie model gunship, and we were covering on the slick that was going in. It was receiving so much fire it had to move off the LZ a little bit, and all of a sudden I saw this body go out the door. And I said, oh my God, they're shooting him out of the aircraft. At the time I didn't know it was Roy. He'd jumped.
Roy jumped from 17 feet up. He made it to the remaining team members, dressed their wounds, and prepared for loading and takeoff.
They actually got the team, this is the sad part, they got the team loaded on Larry's aircraft. One of the supposedly dead NVA fired a burst of fire up through the cockpit, and Warrant Officer McKibben was killed. That caused the aircraft to crash. Sergeant Benavidez, with great perseverance and presence of mind, was able to pull the survivors out of the aircraft and set up a defensive perimeter.
You really don't think about fear. Fear is there already. You just think about surviving. I like to say I prayed every time I moved, but then I'd be lying because you got to move.
I'll tell you, God was with him. If you want people talk about angels, he must have had a group of them right around him working. It was incredible.
By now, Roy had sustained many serious wounds from multiple gunshots and grenade shrapnel. Yet he continued to tend the wounded, fire weapons, and call in airstrikes dangerously close to his position. This went on for 6 hours.
Did you ever think that you weren't going to make it?
No. I cried so much and I prayed so much, and it made me feel so brave. I asked the good Lord, God, just help me. Just be with me.
Although his chopper had sustained 57 hits, Roger Waggy and a volunteer crew consisting of a medic and pilots Dave Hoffman, Bill Darling, and Tom Smith went in for another attempt.
I knew that was their last chance. We were their last chance, and so we went back.
Still under intense fire, Roger landed the chopper. Roy loaded the wounded and dead while the enemy continued to attack.
Blew the whole cockpit out. I mean, they were climbing in the doors.
Roger was forced to lift off.
And he took off. Oh, man, I got to my knees and I yelled and cried. I wanted to shoot him down. But see, I didn't know that he had 2 enemy soldiers on the other side that he scraped off, at treetop level, and he came back down.
Roy had to engage in hand-to-hand combat with an enemy soldier.
He really disturbed me. He hit me in the back. I was hungry and tired, and I got mad, so I had to kill him. He got me there, the bayonet in there. I don't know what gets into your mind to do things like that, but just remember, it's either you or him.
Roy finally made it back to the chopper. As he approached, the door gunner cringed at what he saw.
When he saw me holding my intestine in my hand, he thought that he had shot me. And I'm glad he missed.
And I gave him a thumbs up. Some way, it was God. We came up and took him to Quan Loy.
It's a miracle that we're ever able to do it.
It was just an act of God. We got him out.
It was tough. But Benavidez come out. We got him out. We lost some men. Everybody that went near that Z got hit. And then when the smoke cleared, the body bags laid. We counted our dead and we carried.
Roy was mistaken for dead and bagged. A buddy, Jerry Cottingham, told the doctor that Roy was still alive. He checked for a heartbeat.
And when I felt that hand, since I couldn't talk or nothing, I spit in the doctor's face, let him know that I was still alive.
13 years later, Roy was awarded the Medal of Honor for performance above and beyond the call of duty.
Well, you know, that's a very touching moment to think about that, because I was thinking of all those guys that helped me be what I am right now. And all those guys that we left behind. I think of their families. I just thank God, you know, and hey, thank you.
The 240th Assault Helicopter Company sponsored a 30-year reunion and invited Roy as a special guest.
And those guys, thank God, they're such professionals, you know, so dedicated and loyal. You know, the public really don't realize what these helicopter pilots have been through. Hey, you know the life expectancy of a helicopter pilot and a door gunner in combat is 2 to 3 minutes. And it's so great to see them. I never have hugged my wife as tight as I hug him. He's the man that saved my life.
Roger Waggy succumbed to cancer 2 months after this reunion. The company gathered that night at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial to pay their respects to their friends who gave all that they had.
When you think of your freedom, your enjoyment of the good time, think of a veteran, because he's the one that's providing that freedom for you. He laid his life for you. And I don't want to brag about it, but I thank the good Lord for sparing my life. He kept me alive. He kept me alive.
God can keep you alive as well. He is our very present help in time of trouble. Well, coming up right now, we've got a special tribute for you. It's a special tribute to retired Master Sergeant Roy Benavidez. The Navy christened the 7th Sea Lift ship Benavidez in his honor on July 21st, 2001. Roy went on to be with the Lord on November 29th, 1998, at the age of 63. Well, more than 58,000 Americans died in the Vietnam War, but their memories live on among us. David Sisson reports on a work of art that captures the spirit of these fallen heroes.
Take a look at the statue of the 3 fighting men. It's at the Vietnam Memorial in Washington, D.C. The famous wall, a minimalist work by Maya Lin, was here first. The wall lists the names of those killed in Vietnam. It is deeply appreciated by many Americans, but others, especially some veterans groups, wanted something more, something for the living veterans as well as those who died. In 1982, Frederick Hart was commissioned to produce the 3 fighting men. The statue was installed about 300 feet from the wall. The men are all looking at the wall.
I had one Marine from Texas write to me, and it was the nicest thing that was ever said to me about the statue. He said he had the sense that they were searching for their own names on the wall.
That touches you.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone that served in Vietnam, we lost someone close, and I did too. You know, and that statue is him. His name's on the wall, but I can't find it. And I feel the statue is him. I can go up there and touch the statue and look at it, you know, and talk to it. You know, it just makes me feel better.
The one thing that in all of the interviews that I had with Vietnam veterans, that they all, whether they were bitter about their experience or proud or whatever, or left, right, center, that they were all treasured was those bonds of love and friendship and mutual devotion that they experienced in that combat situation. The Vietnam veterans had very highly individualistic ways of dressing. For instance, the blacks had used a towel, and the towel became almost a totem. It was a kind of a good luck charm, or having the towel was something that the brothers had to have. There were a lot of little details like that. The putting of the dog tag in the shoe as a way of quieting it on the one hand, so when you're out on patrol, but also, quite frankly, so that if you lost a limb to a mine or a booby trap, it could be identified as yours and maybe saved. The one thing about the detail that I didn't plan on, but I was sort of emotionally overwhelmed by, is the degree of appreciation that the veterans had for the detail. And it puzzled me at first. They were so pleased and so touched that everything was authentic. And what I began to realize is this gave them exactly what they felt they had been deprived of, which was not a parade, not an applause or a pension or a bonus, but just an acknowledgement of what they had been through. And it was overwhelming for me to find that in my craft I could do something which could so deeply have affected so many people.
At the Vietnam Memorial, the wall is something to experience, a mood, a feeling. The statue is what it is.
You can see their faces, and the commitment on their faces.